Hi everybody, welcome back to Family Reading Nights. I'm Miss Kelly. We are going to continue with the book called The 100 Dresses. We have a few more chapters to go. We're going to see what happens next and why Wanda, we know why Wanda is moving away because her dad wrote a note saying that she is getting made fun of. So we're going to see what happens with the girls at school, if they're going to make a trip up there and visit her and apologize, or, I don't know. We're going to find out, okay? Are you ready? Okay, chapter 6. It's called Up on Boggin's Heights. I'm going to show you the picture of what it looks like. So it looks like two girls are going to be walking up somewhere. I wonder who it is. Well, we kind of think we know who it is. The two girls hurried out the building, up the street toward Boggin Heights, the part of the town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. Well, at least, said Peggy gruffly, I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And gee, look how she can draw. And I thought I could draw. Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda, just as she'd be able to tell her they were sorry they all had picked on her, and just to say how wonderful the whole school thought she was, and please not to move away, and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not so nice. Maddie fell to imagining a story in which she and Peggy assailed any bully who might be going to pick up on Wanda. Petronsky, Onsky, somebody would yell, and she and Peggy would pounce on the guilty one. For a time, Maddie consoled herself with these thoughts, but they soon vanished, and again she felt unhappy and wished everything could be the way it was before any of them had made fun of Wanda. Brr! How drab and cold and cheerless it was up here on the heights. In the summertime, the woods and the ferns would grow along the brook on the side of the road were lush and made this beautiful walk on Sunday afternoons. But now, it did not seem beautiful. The brook had shrunk to the merest trickle, and today's drizzle sharpened the outlines of the rusty tin cans, old shoes, and forlorn remnants of a big black umbrella in the bed of the brook. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. Otherwise, they were not certain they would find Wanda's house. At last, puffing and panting, they rounded the top of the hill. The first house, the old rickety one, belonged to old man Svensson. Peggy and Maddie hurried past it almost on tiptoe. Somebody had once said that old man Svensson had shot a man. Others said, nonsense! He's an old good-for-nothing. Wouldn't hurt a flea. But, false or true, the girls breathed more freely as they rounded the corner. It was too cold and drizzly for old man Svensson to be out in the customary chair tilted against the house, chewing and spitting tobacco juice. Even his dog was nowhere in sight and had not barked as the girls were wherever he might be. I think that's where the Petronskys live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house with lots of chicken coops at the side of it. Wisps of gold grass struck up here and there along the pathway like thin white kittens. The house in its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. And here's a picture of the two girls approaching the house. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. There was not a sign of life but the house except for a yellow car. Half grown, crouching on the one small step close to the front door, it leapt timidly with a small cry half up, way up a tree when the girls came into the yard. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still no answer. Wanda, called Peggy. They listened, but only a deep silence went against their eardrums. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskys were gone. Maybe they just went away for a little while and haven't really left with their furniture yet, suggested Maddie. Maddie was beginning to wonder how she could bear the fact that Wanda was actually gone and that she might not be able to make amends. Well, said Peggy, let's see if the door's open. They cautiously turned the knob of the front door. It opened easily, for it was a light thing and looked as though it furnished but frail protection against the cold winds that blew up here in the winter time. The little square room that the door opened into was empty. There was absolutely nothing left in it. And in the corner of the closet, with its door wide open, was empty too. Maddie wondered what if it held before the Petronskis moved out. And she thought of Wanda saying, "Sure, 100 dresses, all lined up in the closet." Well, anyway, real and imaginary dresses alike were gone. The Petronskis were gone. And now how could she and Peggy tell Wanda anything? Maybe the teacher knew where they had moved to. Maybe Old Man Svensson knew. They might knock on his door and ask on the way down. Or the post office might know. If they wrote a letter, Wanda might get it because the post office will forward it. Feeling very downcast and discouraged, the girls closed the door and started for home. Coming down the road, way off in the distance through the drizzle, they could see water of the bay, gray and cold. "Do you suppose that was their cat and they forgot her?" asked Peggy. But the cat wasn't anywhere around now, and as the girls turned the bend, they saw her crouching under the dilapidated wooden chair in front of Old Man Svensson's house. So perhaps the cat belonged to him. They lost their courage about knocking on his door and asking where the Petronskis had left, and anyway, goodness, here was Old Man Svensson himself coming up the road. Everything about Svensson was yellow. His house, his cat, his trousers, his drooping mustache and tangled hair, his hound looping behind him, and the long streams of tobacco juice he expertly shot from between his scattered yellow teeth. The two girls drew over to the side of the path as they hurried by. When they were a good way past, they stopped. "Hey, Mr. Svensson," yelled Peggy, "when did the Petronskis move?" Old Man Svensson turned around but said nothing. Finally, he did answer, but his words were unintelligible, and the two girls turned and ran down the hill as fast as they could. Old Man Svensson looked after them for a moment and then went up on a hill, muttering to himself and scratching his head. When they were back down on Oliver Street again, the girls stopped running. They felt disconsolate, and Maddie wondered if they were going to be unhappy about Wanda and the 100 dresses forever. Nothing would ever seem good to her again, because just when she was about to enjoy something, like going for a hike with Peggy to look for bayberries or sliding down Barley Hill, she'd bump right smack into the thought that she had made Wanda Petronsky move away. "Well, anyway," said Peggy, "she's gone now, so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise." Maddie carefully turned this idea into her head, for if there were anything in it, she would have to feel so bad. But that night she could not sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress, and the little house that she lived in, and Old Man Svensson living a few steps away, and she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands, and really thought this was the hardest thinking she'd ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she ever heard anyone picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she'd speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on, she would never make anyone feel so unhappy again. Finally, all tired out, Maddie fell asleep. And I'm going to show you a picture or an illustration of the kitty under the chair. And then I'm going to also show you the picture of Mr. Svensson and the two girls and his dog. And lastly, I'm going to show you Maddie in bed, thinking and probably going to be going to sleep soon. Okay. So, guess what? I'm going to stop here, and I'm also not going to finish the book. Okay, what I would like you to do is one day come into the library, check the book out, reread it yourself if you'd like to, so you can actually see the illustrations, and then you finish the book and see what happens with Maddie and Peggy, and if they ever find Wanda in her family. okay? All right, we have this book at the library. I'm going to show you what it looks like again. The 100 Dresses. We have it here at the library, so feel free to come check it out. It's not that thick. It's not that big. So I want you to come in here and check it out when you can on your free time, so you can finish the story and see what happens, or reread it. Maybe if you have to do accelerated reader, or if you have to do a book report, this would be a good one to finish and to read. Okay, so I'm Miss Kelly. I hope you enjoyed this first family reading nights. I'm going to do another family reading night in a couple weeks. So hopefully you'll be able to catch another video, different story, different book, and sign up for some hot chocolate and popcorn. Okay? All right, have a good night, have a good day, and come check the book out. Take care. Bye.